Umar Johnson has a lot to say about Candace Owens specifically. Candace Owens, Jesse Lee Peterson, Clarence Thomas, and I think somebody else specifically, right? But Candace Owens has been in a beef or a tiff, I rather would say, with Steven Crowder. Now, a lot of people on this side of YouTube, we like to call it the black side of YouTube. A lot of people on this side of YouTube is not familiar with Steven Crowder. However, Steven Crowder is a massive, and when I say massive, Steven Crowder is much more popular than Candace Owens when it comes to a conservative fan base. Steven Crowder is huge within conservative circles, and he has a massive fan base and platform, and he's recently went to war with the Daily Wire and Candace Owens. Now, the context before we get into this video is this, and I'm going to give you the cliff notes really quickly. Thank y'all for supporting the platform. I'm reading super chats shortly. The context is this. Steven Crowder is getting out of his contract with, I believe, the Blaze. I'm not really sure. The Daily Wire seen this as an opportunity, and because they were all friends at one point, the Daily Wire offered him a contract somewhere north of or in a range of about $50 million. Steven Crowder said that it was a slave contract, right? Because of the requirements of what it would take in order for him to fulfill that contract. I don't think $50 million is a slave contract. It sounds much different than a slave contract. And the Daily Wire disputed a lot of his claims when he started to bring to light some of the things he disagreed with the contract, which I personally felt like was disrespectful, because you never disclose the terms of a contract with a potential employer or somebody that you're doing business with just because you get disgruntled. You just say, I don't want to sign a contract, and you want to keep it moving. I want to do my own thing. Keep going. He made a lot of accusations about the different people at the Daily Wire, which included Candace Owens. Everybody at the Daily Wire, which includes Ben Shapiro, mobilized to defend themselves and said, you know what, we're no longer friends, so I'm going to come after you. Recently, Steven Crowder has said that he's going through a divorce. Candace Owens, and he accused Candace Owens of insinuating that she had information before this divorce imploded, right? But Candace Owens never really said anything about Steven Crowder other than, listen, I don't know why he would turn against his friends. We all were at election night. We were having fun. We were kissing and making love gestures or whatever like that. And even Candace Owens said, I never even said anything about the fact that he knew that I was married, and he DM'd me something that was really, really flirty, and I had to have a conversation with my husband about it. But she kept that under wraps until Steven Crowder, recently going through his divorce, allegedly started saying that Candace Owens was mobilizing or having little slight remarks at him and making him feel a certain type of way about the fact that he was going through it, simply because he thought it was tied back to the fact that what he was beefing with the Daily Wire. Now, this is the cliff notes for those of you that are not familiar. Yesterday, Candace Owens got her hands on some footage, and she's saying that Steven Crowder is a monster. Now, here's the question that we want to ask ourselves. Three things. A, do you really want to poke the bear if this type of information is out? And I'm going to play the video very shortly, but is it really in your best interest to go to war with people when this type of information is out about you? B, even if she had the information prior to, do you really want to go to war with people that have the information? And more importantly, does it absolve you from the responsibility that comes along with whatever is played in this video? C, is the Daily Wire thanking their lucky stars that they never signed Steven Crowder to a $50 million contract in the first place? Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me go ahead and play this video from Candace Owens, and then you can make your own assessment.
So a bit of breaking news that just happened, and before we get to it, I just want to back up and tell you why we are discussing this breaking news, because it's occurred to me that there are some people out there who believe that to be a conservative, what it means is that we become tribal and we defend other conservatives even when they do things that are wrong, that we don't discuss things that are horrible on our own side because we need to just make sure that we score wins in other ways, and that is wrong.
Now, this very much sounds just like the black community, doesn't it? And you see how people start to divide themselves based off of whatever it is that they closely align with. It could be because of color. It could be because of gender. It could be because of feminism. It could be because of your political affiliations and whoever it is that you align with. But basically, she's saying in the beginning of this video, in the interest of what it is that we're trying to achieve collectively, is it right to defend or not defend, or to remove completely the full scope of the conversation, depending on whatever it is that you believe, that somebody may or may not do something egregious because you more or less align with them politically, or you align on whatever it is that you're Republican, conservative, so on and so forth. It's very much just like what it is that we witness every single day inside of the Manosphere or the Black community or anything like that. But let's continue. I'm gonna let this play out.
Wrong. That to me is the exact opposite of why I have this platform. I am not tribal. I want to expose things when they are bad on the left, and I will also expose things when they are bad on the right. Obviously, I have been interested in the Steven Crowder saga pertaining to his divorce because he literally inserted me into his divorce a couple of days ago. And his wife and family are now speaking out regarding that video in which he told people publicly that his wife was leaving him. You remember this. He chose wrong. And he essentially made it sound as if he did not want his marriage to end, but his wife simply wanted to leave.
And it all comes back down to that good old man versus woman conversation, which is one of the reasons why relationship talk is always going to be popular. When I told y'all that the war between men and women extended way beyond the Black manosphere or relationships with regard to Black people, that white men were literally the ones that created the whole slogan, men going your own way, or MGTOW, or the whole red pill movement, that it started way before it started hitting Black men, I was right. And what it comes back down to is that there is a division, regardless of how much money you make, regardless of how much money you make, regardless of what side of the aisle you stand on politically, there is a division. And if you want to see the downfall of any two people, a family, the kids themselves, it always starts between a man and a woman. You may be surprised on what it is that you're about to see, though. Let's continue.
Well, she has responded by giving video, and I want to prep you. I want you to know this is horrific video. It is very difficult to watch. It's especially difficult to watch because in this footage, she is 8 months pregnant. And the video essentially reveals just how emotionally abusive he has been. And she is alleging that he has been emotionally abusive to her. And this video all but confirms it. So let's first get to the footage. I'm just going to allow you to watch it in its entirety.
I drew a boundary. I drew a boundary. No, you just did it. I drew a boundary in abuse.
Now, again, this woman is 8 months pregnant. I don't have an opinion at all. I've only seen about literally 30 seconds of it, and I said, oh, we got to have this conversation today. I came up with this part of the segment of this show today based off of seeing about 30 seconds of this, and I said, I don't want to see any more. I want to see it in its entirety. But she's 8 months pregnant. That's her literally with her stomach sticking out, and he's sitting down in the lower right-hand corner having this conversation. I'm going to blow it up a little bit more for you guys.
You are not taking the car. Because if you refuse to do wifely things, then I will go pick up the groceries.
There is no groceries. I'd be happy.
Steaks, wood pellets, my grill. I know it's an unreasonable request, but I'll go do it. How about you first? Hillary, how do you respect the man? Yes. How do you man? How do you man? Receive love and respect.
Now remember, she is 8 months pregnant.
No. How do you man? No, you're not taking the car.
Stephen,
You're not taking the car.
Stephen,
You are not.
then I will ask them to pick me up. Would you like me to ask?
Oh, that's right.
It's not about Stephen.
Get an Uber.
Okay, Stephen, I can't.
Feeling some constraints?
Stephen.
Like, I can't
Stephen.
go. Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents. I can't call my friends. I can't be home. You're going to take the car and leave me here. Hillary, just think of how boxed in you've made me.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
Stephen,
Do you understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you going, I'll be back till I'm back?
Stephen.
The only way out of this is discipline and respect. It's the only way out of it, or we're at an impasse.
We are at an impasse.
Good. Because you can't have any discipline or respect.
Stephen.
There you go. You throw your hand, you give up so easily.
I don't give up, Stephen.
Hillary,
Stephen?
you give up so easily. I just said the only way out of this is discipline and respect. And you said, then we're at an impasse.
Stephen, no, we are at an impasse, okay? I love you, but Stephen, your abuse is sick. Your abuse
Watch it.
is sick.
Watch it. Watch it.
I'm gonna let go. I'll get what you need me to get. And I need some space. We need to just stop engaging for a little bit, okay? I love you. I love you very much.
I don't love you. That's the big problem. I've never received love from you. And the fact is, when I go, look, I need you to do A, B, C, and D, you just be disciplined about it. You go, no. But I love you more than life itself. Okay. Put on some gloves. No. But I love you more than life itself. That's not fair. That's not fair, and it's disingenuous. Hillary, you're right. We're at an impasse. Become someone, listen to me, day in and day out, worthy of a wife. No, not as a wife. I didn't say as a wife. Hillary, come on now.
I'm not gonna engage. I'm not gonna engage anymore. I'm gonna go. I'll tell me what you need. I'll get you what you need.
All right. I'm gonna play the rest of the video, but I just gotta stop for a second. She is 8 months pregnant. Why do they only have one car? Talking about I'm gonna get an Uber. Why do they only have one car? This guy is filthy rich. I mean, filthy rich. Why do they only have one car? And she's 8 months pregnant. Now, I believe in holding women accountable, and I also believe in wifely duties and all of that other type of stuff. But come on, man. 8 months pregnant. I can be pretty harsh when it comes to holding people accountable. Admittedly so. 8 months pregnant, though? It's a bit much. It's way too much. Like all of the whining and complaining and going back and forth and arguing and all of that other type of stuff. Come on, man. Listen. You gotta just chill. It's not that deep. You want her to go and pick up a grill and some pellets and all of this other type of stuff. 8 months pregnant with twins? Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. That's a bit much. That's a bit much. Ladies, black ladies, my Mercedes, hold four on the back, two if you fat, get the cat. Y'all want y'all a white man? Go get you a white man. You think he any different than a black man? Go and get you a white man. Go and get you a white man, ladies. This is what you want? You want you a rich white man. He's saying the same thing that a lot of these guys be saying up on this panel. Let's continue.
I love you. I'm committed to you.
Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm not trying to.
Are you committed enough to do those things? You're not committed to anything. You're not committed to anything. You just said I love you. I'm committed to you. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things?
He just sent her to the store and now he's telling her to get the leash and walk the dogs. I don't want y'all ever to say anything about me. I treat my chick like gold. I treat my chick like gold. Come on, country boy. You talking about she's 8 months pregnant. She's 8 months pregnant. I don't want to hear anybody say anything about me ever again.
I'm good.
Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to get the medication the dogs take? No, you take Betty.
So that is both heartbreaking and infuriating for me to watch. I cannot even comprehend how any man can speak to a woman like that. least of all when she is 8 months pregnant. And sadly, that isn't the worst part of that correspondence. The journalist that dropped this video is Yashar Ali. He dropped this as well as a Substack entry accompanying it.
So here's the key, though. Now y'all have to remove Candace Owens from the conversation because she said that a journalist is the one that dropped the video, which, armed with the video, apparently Steven Crowder wasn't smart enough to remove the video from whatever camera he got going around his house, and his wife was smart enough to acquire the footage so that she can have some. She gonna take him to the cleaners. He better get ready to sign that $50 million contract or whatever contract that can come along with it. Because if he going through the divorce and she just released this to the general public, she's taking him to the cleaners. This dude just took a L for Tyrese and every other dude that came along with it. She is, listen, anybody that did a live stream that was supporting Steven Crowder, they're going to feel a certain type of way about it because he literally just took an L for all guys right there. By her releasing that footage, if he don't have nothing to combat it, it's it. That's over.
On the Substack article, he wrote, moments later, off camera, Steven Crowder, by his own admission, would lose control and scream at his pregnant wife in a threatening tone, quote, "I will f you up," end quote, which led his wife to flee their home. She then sent a statement, which I want to be very clear. This statement I knew was going to come out. I didn't know any of this information. I had no idea there was a video or there was any evidence. I did know that their family was thinking about issuing a statement, and Hillary Crowder did issue a statement. And I'm going to read you that statement in its entirety because it's important. I think it reveals a lot of the lies that Steven has been telling publicly to his audiences. It reads, Hillary is currently living alone in Dallas apart from her family and support system in Michigan and is focused on taking care of her young children. She is not prepared at this time to speak about her divorce becoming public or the misleading statements made by Steven about their relationship. The truth is that Hillary spent years hiding Steven's mentally and emotionally abusive behavior from her friends and family while she attempted to save their marriage. She was the one who was asking to work on their relationship to keep the marriage intact for their unborn child. In June of 2021, Steven left their home to pursue elective surgery. That's very important. I want you to remember that. I'm going to come back to that point. Hillary urged him to get the help he needed to address his abuse with the hope that their marriage could be saved and they could peacefully live together as a family. Instead, Steven refused to do so and chose not to be with his wife during the birth of their twin children. After the birth, Steven bought a townhouse and left their home permanently. Hillary was not aware that Steven hired a divorce attorney and asked his assistant to cut Hillary off financially. There is significant documentation substantiating these facts.
Now listen. If, because we don't know, the only thing we have is the limited amount of video footage that the journalist dropped, and according to my dog, Anthony Brian Logan, the family dropped it off to the journalist for us to be able to view and for Candace Owens to be able to execute Order 66 on Steven Crowder right now. Now, if this be true, if this is true, we gotta take a L. Fellas gotta take a L on this one, right? Because we can't collectively sit here and say, well, she left a high-value man, when if he actually cut her off financially and then went and bought a townhouse and consulted with a divorce attorney, it flies in the face of everything that we use from a data or statistics perspective and saying that women file for divorce the majority of the time, especially even when it comes to high-value men. Look. Based off of Candace Owens right now executing Order 66, because this is Order 66, this looks incredibly bad. This looks, especially for somebody that has a massive fan base like Steven Crowder. This is Civil War, Captain America versus Iron Man, and Bucky just came through, and Iron Man just showed the footage of Bucky executing his parents. This is Bucky executing his parents on camera without any additional context of knowing that Bucky was under control of Hell Hydra. No, Mike's here. You talking about this is just one instance. This is not the norm. This is what it is. This ain't, listen, we're looking at this on an individual basis. Let's be objective. When we look at the Black Chinas and we look at Tia Mowry and she leaving her husband in a divorce, the one thing that I'm going to say differently about our beautiful white women is that white women, before they ever come to the forefront of the congregation, they be dropping the bombs with the evidence. They be collecting it. They be writing it down. They be checking it twice. And they be thinking to myself, if you ever leave me, I'm going to drop this video, or the family is going to drop the video on my behalf, and helping the general public to understand and find sympathy in my favor so I can clean you out. White women clean you out. And they do it justifiably. Like, what am I going to be able to do if this is correct? What could I say in defense of Steven Crowder? What could I say in defense of Steven Crowder? He was literally requiring an 8-month pregnant woman with twins to pick up the leash, walk the dog, go to the store with one car, even though she was smart. She was like, okay, I'll catch an Uber. He was like, shut the fuck up. Come and get this leash, walk this dog, and keep it moving. If the dude is the one that consulted the divorce attorney and he went and bought a townhouse and then he cut her off financially, even though she had kids and all of this and she had to go and move back and all of this other type of stuff, I don't even know if I can sit through any more of this video of Candace Owens, but I'm so intrigued that I have to.
Why don't you remember that portion as well, because that's another lie that Steven has told publicly.
And at the end of the show, I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and you guys are going to be more than welcome to come up here and help me to understand where I'm off at or give your thoughts or whatever like that. Let's cook up.
We hope that Steven will cease from speaking publicly about these personal matters in an untruthful manner. We also look forward to there being full transparency in the legal process so there is fairness and accountability for the actions that caused the divorce and to ensure the outcome is what is in the best interests of the young children. I would first like to go back to that portion where she says Steven left their home to pursue elective surgery, because I know exactly what surgery she's referring to, because during my first backstage here at Daily Wire, we actually prayed for Steven and this surgery. So before we...
Oh, Jesus. Not the black and the white women together coming to pray for you. Oh, he up Schitt's Creek. He is up Schitt's Creek. The best thing, in my opinion, based off of all of this new information that's being presented, is that the Daily Wire didn't sign Steven Crowder. And this is the, let me say this before we continue this video. This is the risk that a lot of people don't take into consideration when you offer contracts to other people, that you're taking a risk from a business perspective that they'll be able to fulfill their obligations, and that your investment, that they're going to make good on your investment in them. This is the risk when basketball players and owners, and they create merchandise, and then a lot of these companies, Nike and Gatorade and all of that, and recently we had the John Morant saga and all of that, and they invest a lot of money, and sometimes this is guaranteed contracts. They invest a lot of money into these people as individuals, and they're praying that they keep up their end of the bargain as far as continuing to be a marketable star in the eyes of the general public, especially considering that they built up a huge following or a huge audience. Tiger Woods, you can throw him on into that, right? Kobe Bryant had to rebrand himself after that whole saga that came around when he didn't have a level of dick discipline to bust down that white girl that lied on him and all of that other type of stuff. You have to be very careful. And this is one of the reasons why I say that I don't do business with everybody, and that character matters, because you don't know who's going to fumble the bag and who has skeletons in their closet that's then going to implode everything that you built just because you associated with them.
I show you a clip from us on Backstage. Here is Steven describing that surgery, and it certainly doesn't sound like it's elective. Take a listen.
I explained to you a little bit what it is. You know, a lot of people say, why are you smoking? My heart is actually great, but my heart doesn't work great. And the reason my heart doesn't work great is, long story short, because of a connective tissue disorder I have, and my chest is caving in on my heart. So I've got about, I'm at a little more than half of the blood flow that you guys have, ventricular output from my heart. So it's a mechanical fix. And I don't know, maybe I'll feel like Lance Armstrong, like I'm on EPO after this, because I don't know what it's like to go through life with full blood flow. To me, I'm looking forward to it, not looking forward to the pain. Lance Armstrong, by the way, with the 3 balls, not the one. So yeah, it's overall a positive thing, and honestly, I've probably needed a little bit of rest. It comes in the form of having my chest cracked open.
Obviously, he had the surgery and then his lung collapsed, and here is us praying for him, praying that he actually gets better.
Before we leave, I just have to, this one off the subject for a minute. Our pal, Steve Crowder, who makes the best ashtrays in the country,
Truly.
is in the hospital fighting for his life.
This is the beauty of social media, is that people be having receipts. Like, people be going back and pulling up all of the old footage of how they had your back and what they prayed for and all of this other type of stuff. People be having receipts.
And he's really come close. He's come close to the dark edge of things. And I just want to say that crazy as he is, we love him, and we're thinking about him. That we hope he makes it back.
They got the date at the bottom and everything.
You're a better man than I am.
Well, that's true.
I was actually just looking forward to the show being over so that I could text him and say, hope you don't make it, pal.
Actually, this is a real story. Last night I had to go for a drive because it's a long story, but I had to burn down gas to take my car into the shop. And so I was going to smoke a cigar, and I was going to say my nightly prayers. And I thought, I should probably pray for Crowder, because he's in this. And I thought, what's great? I'm going to light up one of the cigars that Crowder sent me.
Yeah.
And Crowder, this guy who's a complete maniac, he sent me these beautiful cigars, and I was like, oh, pal, I'm going to send you some cigars right away from my humidor. Haven't sent him a single thing, but that guy, he, really a generous fellow, and doesn't get enough credit.
I actually did text him and say that we were praying for him at great risk to our souls.
And if he dies, I personally will kill him. Right?
And yet, according to his wife, this was an elective surgery, really a cosmetic surgery.
No, now we being a little bit disingenuous here. This is not elective. This is not. See, this is the thing. When they hate you all the way to your grave. It's not elective. If your heart is only beating at 50% capacity, or blood is flowing to your body at 50% capacity, that's not really, it's elective in that you don't have to do it, right? You don't have to wait till you're on your deathbed before you actually get it fixed. But so elective surgery is a little bit disingenuous. We actually need to have this so I can be as healthy as possible. So take that with a grain of salt, all right?
Because Stephen didn't like the way that his chest looked because he had a sunken chest. And it was not something that was actually required to save his life. And yet we see that same pattern of behavior. Stephen garnering a ton of affection and prayers from his followers, purporting to be the victim, when in fact the facts don't line up with his narrative. The second portion that I'd like to point to is where it says Hillary was not aware that Stephen hired a divorce attorney. This stands in stark contrast to what he told his followers when he said how hard divorce was and how difficult and horrific it had been and how he really didn't want it, and just, Texas is a no-fault divorce state. What is the truth here? I don't know. Obviously, right now we have his wife's word versus Stephen's word, but given my personal experience with Stephen, I am very much inclined to believe his wife. Now, I'd like to get in some other portions of
Listen, I don't believe anything. The only thing I go by is what it is that I see presented. Now, the evidence of that video was pretty damning, right? And this also shows me you got to be careful who it is that you want to go against. Make sure that y'all read The Art of War, Sun Tzu, 50 Rules of Power, all of that other kind of crap, because there is some real lessons in that. And so you want to handpick when and who you go to war with, because now you have a Candace Owens executing Order 66. But I do not believe his wife and everything that she says just because they presented me a video. I don't believe everything. She just sit there and told me that it was elective surgery when it literally helped save his life, right? So there's additional context. And this also means that we can't take everything at face value that's being presented to us, because if you're able to look through the context of what's being presented here, we can also make some informed decisions, because we know now you're being a little bit extra and disingenuous because you feel in a certain type of way after he did whatever it is that he did, which I'm not condoning, and it's absolutely wrong. And you shouldn't be making a chick go and catch an Uber to go and pick up your grill when she's 8 months pregnant with twins, right? However, it's very hard for us to sit here and defending when the first video that they dropped showed him being an asshole.
This article, which I think are really important. The writer has a bunch of audio files and text messages that were sent to him that he was able to review. He writes, in audio files and text messages that I reviewed, Steven Crowder admits to some of his faults, which include a volcanic temper, repeatedly and at times regretfully. But according to sources that I spoke to who are familiar with their relationship, Crowder's admissions often came after a sustained period of mental and emotional abuse, and he didn't seem to be able to control his impulses. That, again, is something that I have seen personally.
That means this is not the end of this conversation. Translation. That means we have more bombshells to drop on you, and we're just waiting for the most opportune time to do so. If the journalist or whoever it is that have all of these audio and video files have additional content for them to be able to drop that makes it more, paints an even rosier picture of what it is that we just seen from Steven Crowder, the dude is in trouble. It is absolutely, he is in trouble.
Very bizarre. He would insert me into a divorce announcement and purport that I somehow extorted him. It's very bizarre in the way that he attacked the Daily Wire. And there just seem to be a lot of signs that he is not able to control his emotions. And so the question that I will ask is, how many people are going to allege abuse from Steven Crowder before we listen, before we stop saying he's one of us because he says things that he agrees with? We purport that we are the party of family values. How can you look at that video and defend him in any way? How can you look at that video and not roundly condemn this and say this is not something that actually represents the things that we believe? The writer goes on to say, like so many things in his life in recent years, Crowder's temper and paranoia led him to destroy his relationships with Sir Shapiro, Boring, and others at the Daily Wire when he posted a video on his channel suggesting that the Daily Wire, without naming the company, was attempting to align itself with big tech by mentioning in their initial offer to him that if he was demonetized on social media platforms, that it would reduce his overall compensation. Well, again, going back to the pattern, it's not just the Daily Wire. It's David Landau. It's Sven the Computer. It's Jared Monroe, formerly known as Not Gay Jared, people that are locked into NDAs and are not allowed to speak about the abuse that they endured by Steven Crowder. It's Owen Benjamin. It's now his wife. Do you believe that all of these various different parties, the majority of them who have never spoken to each other, I have never spoken to Sven the Computer, I've never spoken to David Landau, I've never spoken to Hillary Crowder, I've never spoken to Owen Benjamin. Do you believe that all of these people, as is the paranoid narrative that Steven Crowder is presenting, are working maybe in collusion with big tech to try to destroy him? Or do you believe it's plausible that Steven Crowder is just a monster? I
don't think that he's a monster. I think that it's a stretch to say that Steven Crowder is a monster. All right. This is piling it on, right? We have one video in which he was acting like an asshole and he was a monster, right? And I would even say monster is a stretch. We have one video, right, that paints him as in a negative light, that makes him look really, really bad. That's probably going to get him washed in family court, and she's going to get everything as a result of it. But then all of a sudden they want to pile on and say, that he's an absolute egregious monster and all of this type of stuff. It does not make him a monster, right? It makes him human. It makes him fallible. It makes him look bad based off of what it is that he's built on social media. But it's a stretch to say that he's a monster. He's not a monster.
I believe that he is a monster. And that is, by the way, Steven, if you're watching, I'm not trying to extort you. I am just simply telling the truth. There was a lot of things that are going on, and I am glad that his wife found the strength to speak out. And I'm calling upon everybody to roundly condemn this, to reject this firmly, not to somehow come up with an excuse and say, oh, well, it's a divorce, so we shouldn't talk about it. We should mind our own business. No, the way that we represent ourselves privately and publicly should be the same. If you purport to care about family values, again, then you should care about this situation and you should condemn it. Yashar Ali also added in this article,
the people that you frame as monsters, as pedophiles, rapists, serial killers, that type of thing. You can't say the dude is a monster because of that. That's a stretch. Was he being a dick? Yeah. Was he being an asshole? Probably. Was it something else that triggered it that probably fed into it but does not excuse its actions? 100%. But we're not going to sit here and conflate words because words have meanings. I do not believe that he is a monster at all. I do think that we've seen 10 times worse people do some more egregious things than that. We just seen Tyrese's ex take him to court and display more monster-like activities than that. But you can't say that the dude is a monster. Stop it, bro. Stop it. Priests and pastors that prey on little children are monsters. Steven Crowder, narcissist, probably. Being a diva and emotional, yeah, but absolutely not a monster. That word should be reserved for the worst and worst in society. Stop it.
In reviewing documentary evidence related to their marriage, Steven Crowder appears to be obsessed with the idea that his wife is only interested in him for money. Hillary Crowder started
That may be true too.
dating him well before he became famous and wealthy. He was making less than $100,000 a year when they got married. Again, the Crowder narrative never seems to line up with the reality. And on
Just because he was making less than $100,000 a year when they got married does not mean that she wasn't in it for. See, this is why I have a problem with when people start to pull certain personal information and handpick certain things in order to paint a narrative. And see, this is where men start gathering together and they say, okay, yeah, he fucked up, but you're not just going to kill his whole life. You're not going to remove his ability to be able to make money. You're not going to ignore the fact that he's incredibly talented and he's built this following up in his platform after all of this time. And see, when women go overboard, this is the thing that then unite men because they start to identify when you're trying to handpick and tear his whole life apart in order to justify how it is that you feel about him instead of just sticking to what it is that we seen. And listen, she would have been better off sticking to just the video, but handpicking certain aspects of their life without additional context is what then starts to piss people off and piss men off. And they start to say, okay, wait a minute. You don't really know what the hell was going on, or you don't know the additional context behind why this happened in order to be able to use certain or handpick certain things. We didn't even see the full video. You know what I'm saying? But based off of what we seen, it was some bullshit, egregious stuff that he did that was absolutely narcissistic, and he probably should be held accountable for that. But we're not going to sit here and conflate issues and different things that's going on in order to try to paint this narrative about him. No, he's not a monster. That's a stretch. Stop it. Stop it.
On that note, for those of you that are asking for an update, yes, I did send a cease and desist to him regarding his comments that I somehow extorted him. I sent the cease and desist. I heard back from his lawyer, and essentially what I get from this is that his lawyer is saying that this was just his opinion and it was just Steven Crowder's feelings, and even though it wasn't reality, too bad, so sad. Here's exactly what that legal letter back to me said. I'm going to read you a couple of quotations. It says, "The simple fact is that Ms. Owens, as shown in the clip, made thinly veiled threats directed at Mr. Crowder that she would release the alleged dirt she had on him if he kept making statements about the Daily Wire."
Oh, she did. If that's the dirt that she had, she did.
Mr. Crowder's opinions fall short of any defamation. At most, he has merely opined comparatively the feeling of certain misconduct to his own present state of being. Then, the subsequent use of the word threats is not in and of itself an accusation of crime, even within the larger context in which it was used. The most reasonable implication is not an accusation of crime, but that threats have occurred that fall short of being a crime. Again, at most, they are simply reminiscent in Mr. Crowder's personal opinion of the specifically referenced type of misconduct.
Well, now she can just blame it on a journalist and a lawyer and say that they released it. See how that works?
In short, these are his feelings, they are not facts, and his opinions are protected. And to make it clear for those of you that thought there was something going on in the background or that someone had secretly threatened him, his lawyer is alleging that's not the case. He was simply referring to the exact clip that he showed you of me. Nothing else happened. He just wanted you guys to think that he was under duress in some other capacity. In short, as I have said, I believe Steven Crowder is an absolute monster, and I encourage all of the other people that he has victimized to find their strength to speak out now.
No. See, this is where me and Candace disagrees. Now, do I agree with her war tactics? Absolutely, because when you crush your enemies, you're supposed to crush them completely. You don't leave them any room to breathe. You don't let them come back from it. You don't allow for them to be able to give their opinion afterwards without being slanted based off of what the audience's perspective of them is. The war tactics are executed flawlessly. Congratulations, because once you go to war with somebody and they decided to go to war with each other, she decided to bring out Thor's hammer, and then she went and got the axe and then dropped that shit down too. However, I don't agree, and this is where we depart, and this is just me and being objective, because I'm going to call a spade a spade. I don't agree with the whole Me Too tactics and movements in order to try to get this dude canceled or remove his ability to be able to support himself financially or anything like that. I don't believe in messing up nobody's money. I'm not an advocate for that, but that's just me personally.